Chapter number 3 is about analyzing the marketing environment. The marketing environment as a whole, it is actually made up of actors and forces that affect the marketing activities of an organization. Or, in other words, it is actually the actors and forces outside a marketing department that affect marketing management ability to build and maintain successful relationships with the customers. It's exactly the same thing. So you have marketing management activities or marketing activities which we have studied before, just like you are making a marketing plan by analyzing who your customers are, by targeting your customers in segments, and also finding out the strengths and weaknesses of your organization. Then you make a 4Ps oriented marketing plan, which I taught very briefly in my previous chapters. Now, in addition to all of that, there's an environment which is not in your control. So there are two different types of environment. One is macro environment, which is completely not in your control. So only what you can do is that you can learn about it, and we'll go into a bit of detail just in a while. You can have a look at that environment, which is external to your organization, and you can try to adapt to that environment so that that won't affect your marketing activities that much. And then there's a microenvironment, which you can control somewhat, but again, you cannot control it fully. So let's have a look and find out what exactly these micro and macro environments are made up of. So microenvironment, it actually is made up of actors that are close to an organization or a company that affect its ability to serve its customers. Now, those factors are, or those actors are, the organization itself, the suppliers, marketing middlemen or marketing intermediaries, customer markets, competitors, and different publics. So if you have a look at this picture, so this marketing or marketing activities are the activities which you are intending to do, and you are intending to serve the customers in the best possible way. Now, the microenvironment is the closest environment to these marketing activities or a marketing department of an organization. And like I said before, that it is made up of the company, suppliers, and then marketing middlemen, competitors, publics, and the customers themselves. Let's go one by one and let's see what exactly do these factors mean. Now, the company itself is made up of course, different departments. There is a top management, then there's a finance, R&D, research and development. There's a purchasing department, operations, accounting, HR. So there are different departments within an organization. Now, as a marketing, when you're making a marketing plan, you have to make sure that you study all the departments and you tell them that, look, our goal is to satisfy the customer to our full capability and capacity. And in order to do that, we all have to come to a single page. So for example, if your purchasing department is not working to its full capacity and they're not in sync with the marketing department, that is going to affect the marketing activities of an organization. So because marketing is the front face of a company and they are the one who are dealing with the customer, so the customer doesn't know that it's a purchasing department that is creating problem. They will say that it's a marketing department and the product is not good, hence I'm not satisfied. Same thing goes for the top management. If the top management is making some decision which is not in line with company's objectives and policies, and marketing department is working alongside the company objectives and policies, and they're making those promotional activities and product according to that, so the top management decisions are going to hurt the company. And we have seen this so much in the past before, that there were companies, for example, there was a company named Xerox at one point of time. They were huge in the photocopy business and copier business. And then there was this Nokia, there was this BlackBerry, and so many other companies which were giants in some segments of products at one point of time, and now they're nowhere to be seen. Sometimes it's a fault of a top management, sometimes it is a fault of some other department who are not really ready to come in line with the marketing department. And you have to remember one thing, because you, of course, most of you will be working in an organization or starting your own organization at one point of time in your life. There are certain departments who will always be hand in hand with marketing and who will always fight with the marketing department. For example, in my personal experience, finance department or accounting department, they always have issues with marketing department. Not that they don't like marketing department, But because marketing deserves and they demand a huge budget, and finance and accounting department is directly associated with money, so they always have issue that why are these marketing people are spending this huge amount of money on this particular thing. The second thing which falls in the microenvironment are the suppliers. So if I have to briefly explain it, these are those people or those actors who are supplying raw material, who are supplying goods and services in order to manufacture your product, your service, your experience for that particular customer who you are selling. So they are treated as partners because they're providing customer value. So if suppliers are or have been effective, for example, they have a union and they decide that they are going to sell the product which they are supplying to you at an expensive rate. Your product is also going to suffer. For example, if I give you a very simple example of an automobile, of a car, a tire manufacturer organization or a tire manufacturer union decided that they are going to raise a tire price by 20%. And you are buying tires from, of course, a tire manufacturer for your own car which you are building. So you have to adjust that increase of 20% in that tire in your own price of the car. So the customer doesn't know that it's the supplier that is affecting the price of your car because you are the one who is dealing with the customer. But suppliers are directly affecting the price and the product quality also of what you're offering to the customer. So they're very important and they fall in the micro environment of an organization. Now, marketing intermediaries or marketing middlemen, they are the helpers of an organization. They help the company to promote, sell, and distribute its product to final buyers. Before Apple and Dell introduced this direct selling to the customers from websites, they used to be distributors and retailers who used to take the product, they used to display it in their own shops, they used to sell it to the customers, and they had a lot of power at that time. Uh, Apple and Dell, I think Dell was the first company that introduced selling laptops directly to the customers. Because of that, they saved a lot of money. At that time, people were saying that this is not a good step which Dell has taken. But now, almost every company is following that, and most of the companies they are selling the product directly to the consumers from their own website. For example, if you look at Apple website, you can buy products, but go ahead and check out Samsung website. Can you buy a product from Samsung website directly? Can you click on buy now and pay them the money and the product will be delivered at your own place? Have a look at it and then find out the answer that out of these two companies, Apple and Samsung, which is still relying on other companies to promote, sell, and distribute their product, and which company is directly selling their product to a final buyer. Competitor is important. A firm has to gain an advantage or strategic advantage by positioning their offering against a competitor offering. So what you're offering to the customer, it has to be positioned against a competitor, their competition. Again, Apple and Samsung example. If Apple is releasing a phone with 12 megapixel camera, Samsung has to either match it or has to make their product better if they want the customer to switch from Apple to Samsung. Otherwise, the customer, they will position in their mind that Apple is better than Samsung. And in the future, even when you're making a product better as compared to competition, people are not going to buy. And this is the same thing which is happening with the Chinese products at the moment. That even though their products are very good, and if you look around at the moment while listening to this lecture, almost everything is made in China. But still in our mind, we say that, well, Chinese products are not that good. Coming back to the topic again, the competitors in this particular scenario, what does Apple write on their phones? That design in California, made in China. So you have to find out what your competitor strategies are, and then you have to position your product in a way that that does not affect your product too much. Publix is one of the final actor in microenvironment. It is actually a group that has an actual ability to affect your own decisions. For example, there are different type of publics. First of all, there's a media public, financial, government, citizen action publics, local, general, internal publics. For example, a media public is made up of what? It is made up of different media groups. It is made up of different media channels. They have their own power to change organizational decisions. So you have to keep an eye on different publics around you At times they affect you a lot, at times they don't affect you a lot at all. So you have to see that what banks are coming up, what are the policies of the banks? Can they affect you? What are the policies of the media groups? Can they affect you? What about the government? And same thing goes for the other public. So these three are the top one: financial, media, and government. But again, you have to find out what exactly the local publics are thinking about, what can be an effect of that public decision making on the product and service which you are offering. So when you are making a marketing plan, which we have studied in chapter 2 and 7, you need to make sure that these factors of microenvironment have been studied, they have been analyzed, and they have been properly integrated in your marketing plan, so that when someone is reading a marketing plan, they know that these are the microenvironments surrounding your product, and this is how you are going to address it. So I have a question for you based on this topic, that a company consists of its suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customers, competitors, and publics. So this particular thing is a macro environment. Is it a microenvironment? Is it a business environment? Or is it a marketing environment? What do you think is the right answer? In my view, it is a company's microenvironment that is made up of all these things which has been mentioned here. Now, moving forward to a macro environment, this is again an important topic. In a marketing plan, it has its own value. It is made up of demographic environment, economic environment, natural environment, or in other words, some people call it environmental environment also, technological environment, political, and culture. So let's go step by step. This is a broader view that affect the company directly. So if you have a look down here, it's not really affecting the marketing of an organization directly. It is affecting the whole organization, whole company. So demography or demography is the study of human populations in terms of size, density, location, age, gender, race, occupation, and other statistics. It is an important because it involves people, and this is a very important line. And people make up markets. So if you're not studying demographic environment in detail, it is going to affect your marketing activities, because markets are made up of people. And if you don't know who are the people you're targeting, and who are the people and how their trends are changing, it is going to affect your own marketing activities. For example, about 30, 40 years ago, when our parents were young, was there a trend of going out and eating out at the restaurants that much as compared to now? Were they spending that amount of money on food in a restaurant, or was it less as compared to right now? So you have to keep in mind the trends of that particular human population which you are targeting, and then you have to analyze that, and then on the basis of that you have to make up a strategy. If you're not analyzing it and you are coming up with a strategy which is not related directly to the trends, it is going to affect your marketing activities a lot. Again, demographic environment, it is changing continuously. For example, if you look at the examples here, there are different examples. There was a time when people used to marry in the age of 16. Now they are marrying by 28, 30, 35, 40. There are different reasons behind it. Some say that it is because people want to study first, then they want to get married. Other people say that it is because of financial pressure. Then there are different other reasons. So you have to come up and you have to look at all the reasons that are associated directly or that can affect your product directly, and you have to come with a solution for that particular thing. Economic environment is an environment that affects consumer purchasing power and spending patterns within a country. So it's an important one. This is a picture of Tata Nano. Tata is an Indian company that created a world cheapest car at one point of time. I'm not sure if it's still the cheapest one, and if it was a good product or not, still again I don't know, but when it was launched, it was the cheapest car in the whole world. So value marketing out of economic marketing, because India is a it's sort of a low income country. There are more than billion people, so we don't have a high income class over there as much as any other country in the world. So they came up with a product which was so cheap that it can be easily afforded by most of the households in India, and it was financially viable by most of the customers. So that was a good move by Tata, by the way. I appreciate that, and I think it was certainly a good move. I don't know, Indian customers and Indian students can comment here that if that product was successful or not, but it was certainly a good move by that organization. And with the passage of time, you would come to know that if they have provided the right combination of quality and service at a fair price or not. If the product quality was not as good as the price was, then again, it was bound to fail. Natural environment is actually, like the name suggests, it is made up of natural factors. The market where you're operating, is it prone, or are there earthquakes? For example, if you're operating in Japan or in New Zealand, there are a lot of earthquakes. So you have to come up with a strategy that are they going to affect your company's operation. You have an office, you have spent a lot of money on it in a building near Christchurch, uh, that is in New Zealand, and they got a lot of earthquakes. So, are you going to lose money because of that? Most of the time, you also have to look for raw material. Is there going to be a shortage of raw material? What about the pollution rate? Is it a polluted country? And there are other factors such as government interventions to improve all of that, and the environmental sustainable strategies. I have to mention here a step taken by Pakistan in the global warming, especially, that they are planting almost, and I think they've already done it. They've planted almost 1 billion trees around the country. So that is really going to affect the natural environment of the country. So natural environment, they have different factors, and again, you have to study that in detail. If the type of the product which you're offering in that market has a raw material which is directly related to the nature, it is going to be affected, and your organization is going to be affected by that. Heading is missing here, but this is a technological macro environment. It is the most important factor in the macro environment that affect the marketing activities, that affect the companies itself. Technology is changing every day. You have to keep up to the pace. You have to find out how technology is bringing opportunities for yourself, for your organization, for the products that you're offering. You don't have to be scared by the technology. These days, we are finding out that technologies are coming up. People are scared that we are going to be replaced by this particular technology. You don't have to do that. Uh, People can coexist with the technology. I personally believe in it. For example, in our education sector, when this COVID 19 pandemic hit in different countries, the education sector was also affected. And professors came up with a solution that they started online classes. There was a company named Zoom. No one knew about it. And suddenly, the company shares and the company itself, um, the shares went up the roof. People stopped using Skype. People were not using Google Classroom also because Zoom provided a very good user interface. So technology helps your company. It helps you also, and you need to study the technological aspect of the environment that is directly related to your organization. Political environment, very quickly, they are made up of laws and government agencies, pressure groups, that can legislations also that can affect your organization. So when you are entering into a new market, or when you're starting a new business, of course your lawyers, they study different political laws. You also have to find out if political stability is there. If there are no stable, if the government is not stable in the country where you're operating, then you're also going to have issues. In the end, the last point in the macro environment is a cultural environment. These are the forces that affect a society, basic values, perception, and behaviors. Again, China, they have a certain sentiment values for a red color. What is it? Go ahead and go on Google and find it out. India, they have different cultural values. Muslim countries, they have different cultural values. In terms of when you talk about European, their cultural values are coming from different places. So these are the basic values that a society follows. They have perceptions, they have stories, they have behaviors, they act in a certain way. So you have to find out those cultural values, and you have to act accordingly. If L'Oreal, which is a cosmetic brand, it's advertising in an Arab country, for example, in Saudi Arabia, they're selling their product over there. But when they're advertising in Saudi Arabia, they do not advertise in the same way as they're doing it in the European country or in the US. So they have difference. Go ahead and find out what exactly is the difference. This is because of cultural environment, because that is directly affecting the company's macro environment. You will listen and you will hear this term a lot, and you don't have to be scared that, oh, we have not studied this term. It's called a pest analysis. In organizations, people use it a lot, especially marketing department. It's again an analysis of a macro environment of particular organization. Pest means political, economic, social, and technological. That is actually called pest. So we have already studied that individually, because I feel so in social the culture comes into play. Economic we have already studied, and political we have seen, and technological we have also seen. Natural is not included here, but that is also an important macro environment. So in the end, how do you respond to this environment? There's not really a right or wrong answer. Uh, you find out the uncontrollable environment factors, and you just react and adapt to those forces in your marketing plan, because you cannot change it, so you just adapt it. You can be a proactive marketeer. Aggressive actions can be taken to affect forces in the environment, so you can try changing that. Uh, Again, my suggestion as an experienced marketeer is not to do it. Probably the better way is here, that you adapt to the environment, and you adapt in a way that you are setting your product and marketing activities, and you're getting along with the environment rather than changing it. Or you can be a reactive marketing department, which is watching and reacting the forces in the environment. Again, it's pretty much similar. I won't suggest these two things, but again, these are three different ways how you can affect the marketing environment. So before I finish off the chapter, I've got two questions for you. The first one is, which of the followings are included in the major forces affecting a company's macro environment: marketing mix, positioning, price, or cultural, political, legal, economic, marketing concept, goal setting, cultural, or baby boomers, minimum wage rates, and product service. In my view, it is the second one, which is cultural, political, legal, and economic factor. And the last question is, a company's macro environment consists of all the following except demographic forces, economic forces, competitive forces, or technological forces. And the answer for that is competitive forces.